Yeah.
Oh, just
have a
variety of
forum,
things.
right?
Did not too many different activities. boards and
Okay, we're
things.
on air. I'm going like,
To me.
hey, it's spread out all over the place.
Okay.
I'm thinking
It says we're on air.
we're on there.
4 o'clock, time to begin the meeting. Call to order. Roll call, please.
Say your name.
Kevin Janaszek.
Ann Zimmerman.
Denny Walgren.
Bruce Richardson.
Larry Pencratz.
Bonnie Schamberger.
Okay. I don't see any guests.
Right.
But we have to have confirmation.
Do the rest.
Oh, okay. My mistake, sorry. A request staff confirmation that the Kansas Open Meeting Act requires notice has been properly provided.
Yes, it was.
And it has been. Thank you. Now is roll call. Introduction of guests. I see none. We have a new board member. He was here last time, wasn't he?
Kevin was here last time.
Okay.
We apologize. We
Everyone
must have
was
forgot to
missing.
remove that from the agenda.
Pardon?
We apologize. We must have forgot. I forgot to remove that from the agenda.
Did you want to introduce our new assistant?
Oh, sure. We do have a new staff member with us. Elizabeth Francis is her name. If she wants to introduce herself, she may.
She's good like this.
I don't want to put her on a spot, but I will introduce her. So.
Okay. No citizens forum. Nothing out there. This is going to be easy. Okay. Motion to approve of the agenda.
I move we approve the agenda as
I s-
presented.
I second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Right.
All not in favor, say the same sign. And approved. Okay, approval of minutes. Make a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, activity reports.
Thank you, Mr. Richardson. As I normally do, I try to go through and hit some of the highlights from the activity reports for the previous month. And if there's any questions relating to any item, please ask. Within parks, again, we had this as an item last month. We're removing damaged, older style picnic tables that are made out of concrete in our parks. And in Oakdale Park, that was something we did in March. We assisted with the disc golf course at Markley Road, Berkeley Disc Golf Course. We have new latches on the Barkley Dog Park. We had older style, I wouldn't call them older, but they were plastic, more of a residential style latch on the dog park, all 3 bays. And we removed those and put in more of a beefier steel powder-coated gate latch, which should last a much longer time. I think it was 4 to 5 times a year we were replacing latches on a given year. Landscaping accomplishments. There was a advisory board member who had a question relating to landscaping beds, pre-emergent and weeds, and I was going to pass that off to Brett or Dennis to answer that question.
So if I understand the question correctly, it's kind of like, what's the difference between, this says pre-emerged the landscape beds and sports complex turfs, and then it also later stated that it's sprayed. Is that the question, basically?
Yeah, I just thought maybe pre-emergent was herbicide, which is be spraying for weeds, but
It is. So the pre-emerge is usually in granular form, and it tries to get all those that are underneath before they emerge, obviously. But spraying is taking care of the ones that have already emerged, because pre-emerge will not go after anything that's already emerged. So spraying is basically a post-emerge, which once it's out. And so if they went through and did pre-emerge, and there are already weeds there, then they'd have to go back and spray. So that would be what the
Thank you.
difference is.
Speaking of which, there is a recent action item at the City Commission about spraying services for certain right-of-way areas that we are implementing this year. The right-of-ways that the park's responsibility is some of the larger areas in town that are more visibly prominent, such as the 9th Street corridor medians, the Belmont medians, the North Ohio overpass, things of that area, which are very prominent locations where, you might have seen dandelions right now. You might see henbit, which is that purple flower. You might see bindweed through the summer. There is a spraying contract that's in place for the next 3 years, where they spray twice a year. And the idea is, of those 2 sprays, it's kind of like that pre-emergent, post-emergent attempt to try to get some of those broadleaf weeds in those desirable, prominent areas, highly visible areas under control. Continuing on, activity reports. Cemetery, as you can see, cemetery does more than just the cemetery. They do contribute to other parks. They do have some input at Indian Rock, putting that shelter back together after the concrete work that was completed. Lakewood staff replaced the Indian Rock history sign, which I knew some people were concerned about or noticed that it was missing due to vandalism, and we refurbished that, put it back. Animal services, we did hire two part-time dog walkers. Special event, we have our annual Easter egg hunt, the community Easter egg hunt. Had a lot of visitors, and we host that at Berkeley Family Recreational Area.
I had a question on that.
Yes.
On that page. What's the arch bridge there? Where, I don't recognize it. Probably everybody else does, but I don't.
Good question. I don't know where that's at exactly.
I guess it's probably at the river. No?
I believe it was related to the Lakewood item for a work group to clean up around the river, but I do not know where that bridge is at exactly.
I've never seen it either.
You know, provided that picture.
Hey,
Oh, it was part of the trips and tours
really?
that Lakewood held a. So it's probably not in Salina.
Oh.
The Stone Arch Bridge. Do you know where from? Yeah, we don't know where from.
Yeah, pretty nice bridge.
But it would be nice to have, yeah. You don't see too many arch bridges at all in Salina. It's usually box culverts that are not passable by a canoe or a kayak. We should have looked at it closer. Let's see, Kenwood Cove, as I think I reported last month, based on the May school schedule and our staff training schedule, Memorial Day, Monday, May 27th, will be the opening day of Kenwood Cove. And there's a rationale in there for that Andrea provided, the aquatic supervisor. And then wanted to point out under municipal golf course, mowing's begun, and that goes for all city areas. Grass is growing well, but we do need rain. Not sure what the board can do about that. But Bill Burke needs rain. Oakdale Park needs rain, golf course. So we need some moisture for the grass seed that we recently put down and the turf that we already have. So a little bit concerning. If Travis wishes to speak about a few items, he may. If he wishes, I mean.
Sure. Solana Fieldhouse, March is kind of a transition month for us. It slows down. I'm not complaining about that. Tremendously busy during the winter, but we still have a lot of events in there, and it's still a semi-busy month. Wanted to point out that we brought a men's 4x4 volleyball back. That's a first since COVID. We tried it again, and we got 4 teams. So if you're a 6'4" men volleyball player, you can more than welcome to join. We did host the ND2 tournament. I think I reported on that last board meeting. 82 teams. That's a great event. So, and we anticipate we have a 3-year contract with that, so another 2 years. We laid more turf down just to accommodate more of the baseball, softball, soccer practices that inclement weather tends to show its face during March and April. Still the same drop-in pickleball, those type of things on inclement weather days. Match Madness, I don't know if any of you guys were there. I think they raised $1.1 million, so another great event for them. They've already booked the facility for next year. So USA Softball, they hosted an indoor softball tournament in there. They maxed out at 10 teams. That's about all we can do as far as a one-day tournament in there. The Yard took over. Kelly Kitchener ran an indoor baseball tournament the day following. The Yard did take that over, and now they're in discussions of coordinating. If the weather's nice, the Yard can use their indoor/outdoor facility. I don't know how to a covered ball field, so to allow those late teams maybe to get in there. XWE Wrestling, I don't know if you know much about that, but we keep hosting those events. It's more of that pro wrestling that you see on TV, pretty entertaining. So moving the outdoors, during March, the main focus is baseball, softball, and soccer. I wanted to point out that when we hired him, we had 4 recreation soccer teams, 4. Now we have 35. So Dave Atterkirk's doing a tremendous job there. With any growth, there's pain, and ours is managing the fields, rotating the fields, lining, laying out those fields, and it's just requiring more staff time in that period. That is staff time is very, very precious. So trying to keep up with those is cumbersome.
What do you attribute to that growth in soccer? Because, I mean, it has been fun to go by there now and finally see it being used. Yeah.
Yes. Dave?
Is it?
Dave's great. He was the one that I coordinated with when he was running the club. So his job was just representing the club, and I was coordinating with him. And now we're running more of a kind of a hybrid, probably like our baseball and softball league. You have some league teams, you have some tournament teams in there. You have a hybrid of having more of the a recreational division and maybe more of a competitive division. He knows the contacts. They're coming from out of town. So we're getting teams from Hayes, Great Bend, McPherson. They're traveling to us for league play, which is great. Junction City was another one that caught my eye. So
Some of that growth is just from the national exposure,
I would say so.
because like they moved with Messi coming in, they moved it from their normal, KC Sporting place there to the Arrowhead Stadium, and had, 70,000 people there or so. So I think a lot of those things that are happening throughout the U.S. is helpful, helping
Cup
that
as
too.
well in
The
Kansas
World
City.
Cup is going to be in Kansas City, and there's some truth to that. I think the highest league teams we ever had was when the Royals were doing pretty well, and everybody wanted to be the Royals that year. So I think your point is taken that there's some national or state exposure that maybe gives them a little lift to that too. In March, we did host our first outdoor event. Anticipating this probably get even earlier, but with turf, the season tends to start a little earlier and it tends to end a little later. So that's the beauty of it. But we did host our first tournament, and it was a USSSA fast pitch with 16 teams. So what I'm seeing so far, last year was kind of you just didn't know what was going to happen. We were still in transition of construction with the turf. The tournament numbers during spring and summer were up and down. And then the fall tournament numbers last fall were big. So I was hoping that would carry over into this year, and what we're seeing so far, it's carrying over. So just to give you an example, this weekend we have 50 teams with SACE tournament. We've never had. He's been growing it from 20 to 30, and we hit low 40s, and we thought we were doing really, really well. Well, he hit 50 this weekend, so the tournament numbers are looking better.
I want to talk about the field use Berkeley, since Wilbur's not available.
So if you haven't noticed, we've got a little project going out at the Berkeley Family Recreational Area. The old Wilbur Field is being converted to Pestinger Family Stadium. The turf is all down now, so you can start seeing it, which is great. It's exciting. However, with renovations, it's pain. You got to temporarily figure out some alternate locations to play, or just to keep your operations going. And we're utilizing Tower Field for ball games this weekend. Typically not a game we play youth games on. It's a practice field. Just have to rearrange in a lot of things to make things happen temporarily. But it's exciting to see that light at the end of the tunnel.
Thank you. A few additional things from the activity reports. Construction division's been working steadily towards the end of tennis project. Painting, the guttering is up on the building. The fascia and the soffit are covered with metal. They're redoing the floor. I think by this next meeting, we'll definitely have it available for the public to use. And I wanted to point out the change locks on new Bill Burke bathroom. While renovations were occurring, we had opened up the umpire changing room bathroom for public use. And we recently just changed that. So now, I'm sorry. We had made that bathroom as an ADA accessible bathroom. And while that new central bathroom at Bill Burke was under construction and we had concrete work to provide an adequate ramp, that's now complete. And so now that Bill Burke bathroom is converted back to an umpire changing room that's adjacent to the concessions, or part of that concession building at Bill Burke, with the bathrooms fully opened just to the east, or just behind the concession stand at Bill Burke. That's that item there, and I wanted to put some context to that. Also, our custodial staff are getting those Bill Burke bathrooms ready to play, and a custodial are keeping those bathrooms clean. Any questions about anything I had on the activity reports outside of what I reported on?
On my calendar, for some reason, it says there's a pickleball open house tomorrow at 4.
Yep. Yes, it's tomorrow. 4 to 5:30. Thank you. Yes, it's an open house / grand opening, if you will. Chamber of Commerce will be there and help us do a kind of a ribbon cutting. It's of course been open to the public for several months now, or a few months now. But we wanted to do something official. We have some giveaways for the community. We have some pickleball enthusiasts that are there that will be providing some basic instruction, playing some games so people can see it and use. Pretty informal affair. I just wanted to. What time is that, Travis?
My calendar says 4 to 5:30.
Thank you. 4 to 5:30 tomorrow at the pickleball complex at Oakdale Park. Sir.
One comment that I would have about, going through everything you've gone through is I think it's kind of remarkable how many teams are coming from outside of Salina, which I think is great for our economy here in Salina, and I just think that's really a positive as you increase the number of teams.
We've been noticing that as well, and I think we keep track of the number of teams in town, out of town, and provide that report to Visit Salina. That way we can kind of narrow down that number of economic impact. So what we do, not only just for outfield, outdoors, but indoors as well. That's why we do that.
We certainly have the facilities within Parks and Recreation to host a lot of those things. Some of that effort is from our Visit Salina Chamber of Commerce partner, and they do a lot of advertising on our behalf that we don't see those efforts, but I think it makes a tremendous impact. And I think we're putting ourselves in a much better position to be a great destination for future things, whether it be tennis, baseball, softball, disc golf. So I think we're putting ourselves in a really nice position for being a competitive host to lots of different sporting events. Maybe not on the scale of Kansas City or Wichita, of course, but
But it makes a lot of difference, I think, when we have those upgraded facilities, because that makes it more attractive for teams and people to want to come.
Yeah, I think you're right. We're getting some good reports on, the restrooms and then the turf. And never really hit me until we had the 50-mile-an-hour winds last weekend of not only does the turf provide kind of an insurance policy for those out-of-town teams to come here, but we didn't have that the whole infield blowing in our face the whole weekend either. So just those little things like that you don't really think of until they happen or don't happen. You're like, wow, And then even though it was windy and it was a little cold, still everybody enjoyed the weekend.
any other questions about activity reports, I'd be happy to answer.
Okay, any new business?
We have 2 items under new business. I wrote this as consider a recommendation, but I wanted to have a conversation more so than asking for a recommendation. And frankly, I thought in transparency, I thought I'd be closer to having this as a fully fleshed out decision point for you, but I do not at this time. But I'm getting ready to present to the City Commission regarding updating of fees for Bill Burke, Pestinger Family Stadium, and Dean Evans Stadium. As you recall, a few months back, I reported to you about our cost recovery results from 2023 and also our recommendations for cost recovery or for fees for 2024. This is kind of an add-on to that. Anytime we go above 10% of an increase in fees, it's a city commission level decision. If it's under 10%, 10% or under, it's kind of diverts to that cost recovery policy or revenue and pricing policy. What I'm preparing for is a presentation or a consideration of increasing fees for using rentals of Bill Burke, Pestinger Family, and Dean Evans. And some of them are around 10%, some are a little over 10%. But I wanted to have a conversation with you, and I didn't have a chance to really give you much information, but I wanted to give you verbally our rationale for increasing fees for those facilities, and basically because they're now turfed, synthetic turf. And synthetic turf is not a forever proposition. We have to maintain it, of course, but we also have to replace it over a 10 to 12 year lifespan. And the replacement costs of turf are approximately 55% of the original input of financial of expense. So, for example, if we spend $1 million on turf, I'll give you a specific example. The price of turf, the approximate price of turf for Pestinger Family is $1.4 million. And that's the total project of putting that turf in. not just the turf surface on top, but the under drainage that goes underneath it, the rock that is under there that supports that under drainage, the piping that collects that water and diverts it somewhere else. That's the total cost of that. So the 55% is the 1.4 million. I'm sorry, 1.4 million is the total expense for Pestinger family, and so 55% of that would be 770,000. So when 10 to 12 years come down the line, we would then have those fees collected and contribute another portion from another funding source, such as transient guest tax, and have the funds available to replace the turf with the assumption that the under drainage would be intact. We might have to do some grooming of that and adding some material, but so the method to the city's madness, if you will, is that fees collected will contribute towards that turf maintenance fund. And there are funds created to put money in every year over the course of time. So when that 10 to 12 year mark comes, we would have the funds available to replace the turf. So now that we've had Dean Evans turfed, we had Bill Burke turfed, now we're having Pestinger family turfed. It's the city's responsibility to take care of that in the future. So fees that we're suggesting for Dean Evans currently are per game fee is $150. Per hour of practice is $50, and per date of tournament is $1,000. Based on the agreement that was struck with Salina Baseball Enterprises, USD 305, Kansas Wesleyan, based on their contributions to the project, they pay a percentage of that. And we are considering changing the baseline for Dean Evans, and also in addition to Dean Evans, it would also be applicable to Pestinger Family Stadium. Let's see if I can find it.
The numbers you just gave us, that's what it is now?
That's the base rate for rentals. That is what it is now for Dean Evans Stadium.
$1,000 was a per day tournament fee?
Correct.
Okay. So are you doing the same thing with the field house, replacing turf?
That is not the same type of turf. Of course, that's a portable turf surface. That is just a purchase.
But it has a lifespan, right?
It does have a lifespan, and it's a foam backing, so the lifespan is not as long. There is a request for future funds to replace turf, and it's a every 3 to 4 year cycle, 5 year cycle, where we would request that portable turf at the field house to be replaced. Yeah, portions of it. I don't think we have a certain percentage that gets damaged. We replace those. Sometimes we can. We have an attic stock. Sometimes we don't. And as that attic stock goes away, we replace that. Let's see.
What you're saying with these original fees, like Kansas Wesleyan, who's out there a lot, doesn't pay these higher rates.
They pay 75% of those base rates based on the agreement and based on the board, that there's a Berkeley Family Recreational Board that was created part of that agreement, and the board is responsible for recommending fees to the city commission, and also in turn recommending to you, or one or the other.
So like when they're out there for 4 or 5, 6 hours, I mean, they have like 100 guys on the team pretty much. I mean, they're out there almost all day long. I had noticed it until I started playing disc golf out there a lot. And so I just was double checking.
And they pay fees on that, of course. They're from 2023. They paid in the spring $8,800 for the use of that field, Dean Evans, and in the fall they paid $5,729. So far this year, and that's to date. Plus, in the future, which is the next few weeks, we have on the books $6,220 from Kansas Wesleyan's contribution. And then there's a dollar amount for the schools, there's a dollar amount for Visit Salina for the future, for the state tournament. So the recommended fees that we're recommending for Dean Evans, let's see if I broke this down correctly, would go up starting the recommendation we're pursuing is on July 1st that the rates would be increased. I see a typo. That's not correct. However, it's going up. That's not, well, the number I'm looking at is not correct. But for example, a per game inning, per game for a 9-inning game would go up from $200 to $220. A per practice, which is $50, would go up to $55. And we're recommending that the tournament per day stay at $1,000, which it is now. As Travis would most likely tell you, and he can speak to this a little more in detail, that tournament fee is difficult to get. We have a lot of competition for tournaments. A lot of people want to use Dean Evans, but they don't want to pay $1,000 a day because they can go somewhere else and pay less. So our recommendation is to keep it at $1,000 per day. And then there's another recommendation starting in the new year, 2025, to increase the fees another percentage up, another 10% up. So if I'm using 10%, the $150 would go up $15. So there's a typo on my page. It would go up to $165. Why it says a different number, I don't know. But $165 would be the approximate amount that would go up for a 7-inning game. And so if you're comparing that base rate, $150.
For July.
I'm sorry.
Starting in July, they'll
July
go up to
1st.
165?
Correct.
Okay.
What 10% of 150 is 15, right? So yeah, 165. Just making sure my math is right. I'm a Parks and Rec guy, not a math major. And those fees would be applicable also to Pestinger, which I already mentioned. Now I know I don't have this paperwork in front of you, but I did want to get it at least a conversation with you prior to our proposing a May 13th commission meeting date to have this in front of the city commission. Bill Burke's a little different. Bill Burke is a recreation facility. It's always been available for the public to use, to drop in and use. Fees were reasonable, and we're trying to continue for them to be reasonable. Right now, the schools pay $300 per season, and that gives them the ability to come on and play practices and games. We're proposing a $10 per hour per field school practice rate, a $15 per hour per game school game rate. Regular rentals or practices for a private organization, for example, not a school organization, would be $15 per hour per field, and game rate would be $20 per hour per field. Yes, ma'am.
Is there a point with all this construction and turf that the maintenance costs go down?
We really found that to be about the same or maybe slightly less. We still have obligations for grooming fields to remove debris from the field. Travis's employee actually is the one that maintains the field. Go ahead, Trav.
Yeah, just to echo him, the myth is turf is maintenance free. It's not. You have to maintenance it. I think Jacob Ham does an outstanding job we groom them, especially during high use, or grooming those fields at least once a week. And then we do rely on the users and the public to maintenance the high traffic areas after each use. That's the pitching mound, batter's box, those type of things. We've left tools in the dugouts for them to do so. We're carrying that same theory from Dean Evans. We're trying to teach the youth teams to do that. But it's not maintenance free. But I would say it's less than a dirt. Give you an example. If it rained an inch and a half, getting those fields back to playable takes a lot of effort, a lot of resources, a lot of time. With that rain, we're not scared of rain as much anymore. We need rain. You heard that from Jeff a little bit, but rain, we don't have to pump all those resources in a short amount of time, converting them from practices to games to tournaments that we did in the past. That's where we'll get some savings.
And also when Travis I'm sorry, go ahead.
The savings is on maintenance, but not, this turf is still going to wear out.
The turf has a lifespan.
And so shouldn't we have a higher fee at Bill Burke now that we have turf?
Well, that's
If we're trying to recover the dollars? Yeah.
The Bill Burke is a publicly available park. And if I, as a person who's paying taxes, so this is one argument. If I'm paying taxes and I'm a tax-paying member of this community, and if I'm now required to always pay with a long history of Bill Burke being available to play on and use, just like our other parks, and I'm converting it to now a pay-to-play park, that is a concern that people have brought to our attention. We were trying to keep fees reasonable so that we do offset the future turf expense while still keeping a fee at a low level so it's still accessible to the public to use.
But
And that is
is there a tournament fee then? I didn't hear that on Bill Burke.
Sorry, go ahead, Trev. Recommending, so it's really, so if we're looking at a game rate of, for a private rental of $20 per hour per field, we have a game rate of 8+ hours for $125 per day per field. So for Bill Burke, for example, you multiply that by 8 or 6 or whatever number of fields you need or want. And again, these are all proposed numbers, and I'm looking for feedback from the board relating to this endeavor.
So it's back to about $1,000 if they're using all 8. Yeah, okay.
How does that compare to other facilities that are close to us? Because obviously, as you mentioned, it's a competition, and if they don't like our fees, they can go somewhere else and potentially host that tournament. Is that pretty comparable to what other?
Yes, much like the field house, I had to reach out to other comparable facilities. Did the same for this, and you got to find that happy medium too of what we have charged in the past, what other people are charging, and try to find where do we compare to that and not lose, like you're saying. And those are the fees that we've kind of came up with to be competitive, but be comparable and not to lose anybody. You got to find that happy medium.
Yep.
Yeah, there is data that Travis did collect. I do not have that in front of me, but he did do a pretty large exercise of reaching out to a lot of different facilities. A lot of them are private in nature and are not really willing to give the information. Not a lot of them are municipal public park type facilities that we were trying to find a direct apples to apples comparison for Bill Burke. that was the tough part.
And finding facilities that exactly match ours is,
Yeah.
it's comparing apples to oranges a little bit. And then, Dakarski is a fully you have some facilities that are fully turfed, and some facilities just infield only. Manhattan, I really paid attention to that because they were at that $15, $20 an hour, no matter if it's a practice or game. So I feel we're very comparable there. And then the size of the fields, the number of fields that you have available. So there's a lot of factors that go into it. But yeah, we did do a spreadsheet of an exercise, and it's quite cumbersome. But we feel we're comparable and competitive.
Yeah, Dakarski was the one that popped into my head because it's very similar where it's just the infield's turfed. I think the number of fields are pretty close.
Yep.
So
So what is Dikarski?
it's in Derby.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
This may sound crazy, but, like in a store, when they're selling something, they don't round it off to $1,000. I'm saying with this, they make it like $995 or $900.
Sounds better.
That, for some reason, that looks better. I don't know if that's a possibility to go from 1,000 to 990 or 995. I don't know, but it's a mental thing is what it really is.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I certainly see your point. I thought you were going to say, start talking about cents, like 9,999 and 99 cents. I wasn't going for any marketing ploy there, but I do see your point. There's some other fees, and then if someone were to book the whole facility, they do get a little bit of a discount. So if Larry did the math for $1,000, if someone booked the whole facility, that's bathrooms, that's parking, that's everything included, that's a $900 per day is what we're proposing. And if they did that for another day, if it's a 2-day tournament, there's a little bit of a discount there too. It'd be $850 per day is what we were proposing.
So Travis, what does a ball team play to come play a weekend, like 2 days here?
Maybe elaborate on that.
Well, I mean, like this weekend there's a tournament. Well, there's 1-day tournament. So what do you know what kind of fees they pay for that baseball? Whoever's
The
running
team
that tournament?
itself?
Yeah, whoever's running that tournament.
That's a little all over the place too. Depends what age division, competitive, number of umpires needed.
Yeah.
So if it's a 1-day versus 2-day, but I would say at minimum you're paying $250 probably at least, and then some teams charge gate, or tournament directors charge gate. Some tournament directors incorporate the gate in amongst their team fee. So, but pretty common, you're in the 300s for getting in a tournament, and that's just with a 3-game guarantee. You can go down to Wichita. They offer more of those 3-day tournaments with 7-game guarantee. You're looking at $600-700 there.
So what's your guess?
Kevin might know a little bit more about that than I.
Yeah, I mean, when we do a 2-day tournament with older girls, obviously we're 18U softball, but you're looking at about $500 to $600 usually now for a tournament. To Travis's point, the nationals, the bigger ones, are $1,100-1,200 a tournament.
So then how many teams show up for a weekend
Ooh,
like that?
that's all over the place too. I mean, anywhere from 20 to 50, 60. I mean, it depends on the facility. Down in Goddard now with those softball fields, they can have a lot of teams down there. Mm-hmm. So it wouldn't surprise me to have 100 teams in some tournaments down there now.
Last thing, we do have some other miscellaneous fees that we are proposing minor increases on, whether it be vendor fees, putting banners up, renting equipment from us, whether it be mounds, portable mats, batter's box mats, pitching machines, chalk, lights. Lights is the big one. We definitely want to charge for lights if they have nighttime. So, and energy costs are not going down; they're only going up.
So in a sense, we do have kind of a base. Hey, you want this many fields, and then what we get? Well, we want this and we want that. Well, there's got to be a fee to that, and every tournament is different. whether they need a pitching machine, whether they're baseball, they need mounds, whether they're softball, they need mats. So we kind of customize and give them what they want, definitely, but there's a fee associated with it.
So I think I've heard what this meeting's being recorded, so I do have your comments so far. Are there any other comments about our proposed method? I want to make sure I also include that Bill Burke, there's no contract associated with it. It is a public park, whereas Dean Evans and Pestinger family, that's kind of a contractual relationship that we have. It is available for the public to use as a rentable facility, but there's a contractual obligation in there somewhere relating to these typical users, whether it be Salina Baseball Enterprises, Kansas Wesleyan, USD 305, because they made some contributions to the construction of that of one or both of those projects.
So did they contribute to Bill Burke also?
They did not. That was a
Now
city
that-
function only.
Now that they're not using Salina South, I see them over there at Bill Burke. And so are they paying a fee for that?
Who's that?
It's Kansas Wesleyan.
Yes, so our current is that Kansas Wesleyan's been using the facility as far as I've been here, the softball.
Okay.
And that's where the fee of $300 per field, that hasn't been changed since I've been here.
And that's at Bill Burke also?
That's at Bill Burke. Now we're proposing to narrow that down per hour, because sometimes they're there, sometimes they're not. Salina Central does use 4 and 5 as well. And then when Salina Central's playing at Salina South Stadium, guess who's over at Bill Burke? Salina South. So there's a lot of pieces to the puzzle here. And Sacred Heart does use Field 6 as well. So we do have those 3 entities using Bill Burke for their practices. And then when our practices begin in the spring, we make sure they're off at 5:30 so the Parks and Recreation practices can begin. But they do, as far as my knowledge to date, Kansas Wesleyan is attempting and have played all their varsity softball games over at Salina South. Salina South and Central play all their varsity JV games over there. Kansas Wesleyan, their developmental schedule is all at Bill Burke. Obviously, they'll try to get on South, but Kevin probably can speak to this too. Probably getting on Salina South during the spring is a feat in itself, and there's a hierarchy for that, just like Dean and be the new Pestinger. So, but we still have 3 entities using Bill Burke, and I don't see that changing in the near future.
Any other feedback you might want to provide?
So for the next meeting, you'll have this drawn up, the fees?
For the next meeting, this meeting will happen after the commission meeting that I'm intending on being at
Okay.
and presenting this for consideration by the city commission.
Could we get a copy of that before you present to city commission, so we kind of know what's going on?
I will, once it gets published, I can provide it. It'll be available publicly after that.
So we won't see it before it goes to the city commission meeting?
Correct. No, you'll see it just as, you can see it before the
Yeah,
city commission, but
going
not
to
as a
the city.
board.
Okay.
That's why I made an effort to get it in front of you today.
Okay, next item, review and reconsideration of the select parks and recreation master plan.
So their last page, there's 2 pages. Last month, as you recall, I did provide a list of items, and this is for the master plan for Parks and Recreation, and there is a priority matrix of 187 items. my intent was to provide for some of the items that we would need review or reconsideration of. Your direction to me last month was to provide a recommendation from staff and from myself about these items, to remove them, to keep them on the master plan priority list, to remove them from the master plan priority list, or to keep them, or have input needed. And I do have some items that have input needed, and the items that have a keep on them, and some, our recommendation is to remove the item from the master plan priority list. I sorted it by the recommendation. So the items, I can go through any items specifically if you wish. I was going to take a little extra effort to go through some of the input needed items. Add a new aquatic destination attraction to Kenwood Cove. We have a estimate of about $2 million for adding a additional attraction to Kenwood Cove. We don't know exactly what that looks like. We have some ideas. It could be a renovation of the center space where the river slide is at, or also called the Zoom Flume. We talked about a flow rider type, or a surfing simulator type attraction. We've talked about extra slides coming off that slide tower. We don't know. We're not sure at this point. $2 million is a healthy request. Do we need an extra feature? It's really a matter of community opinion. We have got requests from the community to add more slides, to do this and that. So our attendance at Kenwood Cove has relatively stayed somewhat stable, between 75 and 80,000 people. Next to our soccer complex, about 4 to 5 times a year, we get damage done to the soccer complex, but from people driving on the fields at the soccer complex. Most recently, 2 days ago, and it does cause damage. And so the item on the master plan relates to preventing that from occurring, whether it be physical barriers preventing vehicles from getting onto the field. Another idea possibly is putting a gated entrance at the entrance off of Magnolia. It seems to be occurring more frequently than it has 4 or 5 years ago. So it's something that we wanted input from the board. Another item is soccer complex. The fields themselves could be regraded to accommodate a better youth soccer field setup. Right now, some of the existing fields on the north end have a crown to them. So if you're playing soccer on it, at certain times, I believe what's been shared with me is if I'm a goalie on one end, I cannot see the goalie on the other end.
That's true.
Wow.
Parker Park, you'll see a lot of items on here about smaller neighborhood parks such as Parker, of adding a picnic shelter with some additional tables.
Where's Parker Park?
It's by
Parker,
the Carver Center. We just looked at it.
yeah, it's near Carver Center by the animal shelter.
Okay.
There's a small playground there. I put it under as input needed because we are proposing adding a dog park to that location, or removing the dog park that's behind the animal shelter and moving it to the Parker Park location. And I've come up with all kinds of clever names for that dog park, but the bark at Parker Park. So, but I won't keep on going because I have about 4 more. But we see, and then we do get plenty of use of Carver Center as a rentable facility. We have a playground there. We think we are going to put a new playground there in the next few years based on the playground replacement plan. It's possibly a good idea to put a picnic shelter there in the future. Right now, we have an existing shelter system that needs help, and we are working towards modifying and replacing slabs and reinforcing posts and roofs and things like that. We're not in a position to be adding picnic shelters to our system at this point in time. However, I guess I listed as input needed, but I think Parker Park would be a location where we could add a small shelter. There's other items under the remove category of other parks that have shelters already there that don't get used as much as the master plan calls for adding a larger shelter to. We just don't see the use. We have plenty of trees in shade in those parks. We would like to just simply add picnic tables underneath shade, similar to what you would see at Oakdale Park or another location like that. Woodland Park, add pedestrian scale lighting.
What is pedestrian scale lighting?
Where if I'm on a trail or walking through the park, that I can go throughout the park and it would be at night, and it can be illuminated and felt safe wherever I'm at in the park area.
Okay.
I'm not sure if there's a better way to describe that, Brad or Dennis, but
I was just imagining really short poles or something. But
That kind of like along the sidewalk, that's where they
Correct.
go through that then?
correct. We are adding security lighting, safety security lighting to various playgrounds that are solar LED lights that don't require a electrical service to it. We're adding them to Pacific Park, which is a neighborhood park on the north end of town, East Crawford, Berkeley Family Recreational Area Playground, and also Thomas Park. So we can have some lighting because if you go to a lot of our parks at night, it's dark. Yep. So if someone's there at 10 o'clock and wants to play in the playground, it can be somewhat illuminated. Woodland Park is one of those parks that has a playground, has a small shelter. I don't know if pedestrian scale lighting is necessary at Woodland Park because it's just not used. It's a small neighborhood park on the north end of town. But lighting is something we would like to add so we can at least provide a sense of safety and security at many of our neighborhood parks. Keep, Berkeley Family Recreational Area drainage. We have a future lighting plan for Berkeley Family where we foresee a connection of a trail from the south end of Berkeley Family where there's an existing trail. And we see a future where a trail is going to be connected from throughout Berkeley Family Recreational Area to connect Crawford to Magnolia. And lighting would be part of that trail. Pedestrian scale lighting would be part of that trail. Bill Burke Park. We do have an opportunity in the future to potentially put a batting cage at Bill Burke Park. And we do have one field that is unlit at Bill Burke Park, which is field number 2. And we would like to keep it on the list so that we can have the opportunity in the future to fund lights on field number 2. I won't go through all the remove ones unless you want me to.
Back on the soccer complex about putting up things, you said you wanted input. I guess we just say block it off so they don't drive on them. I mean, that makes sense.
It's just a large facility and lots of limestone blocks or something that would prevent So every 4 feet you would see something that goes along the field or along separating the parking from the field.
But if you'd shut it off and that's a playground there, would that cause You know, that's the only thing I see is there is a
And-
playground there. So
And then there's, we don't necessarily staff someone there, so we'd have to go out every morning, open it up, close it down every night, from 8 a.m., from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. A lot of people park there to use the trail. It might be a concern to put a gate system at the soccer complex.
hopefully it's just the gene pool moving through now. That drives, because I notice there's some parks that get more driving certain for several years and then they're done, and it's usually the gene pool. So
I was thinking they could have something removable. If you ever need to drive a vehicle out on there, you don't want to block that off with a stone, you know. You could have some removable things that lock
Yeah,
on
there's
poles or
removable bollards. There's lots of options. They don't look nice,
All right.
some of them.
Maybe you could just put some blocks and then a bollard every now and then, something like that.
For example, the planters that are at Oakdale Park entrance, those are available. I can't even speculate what the expense of one of those is, and we're talking about a lot of linear feet to put those. So it's a large expense. But on the alternative, how much expense? I couldn't tell you what Dennis's time and his staff and his materials are going into fixing damage. So it's.
do you need a motion to approve this list?
I do. I would appreciate a recommendation to approve the plan amendments.
I would so move to.
So
Second it.
before you vote on that, for the items that are input needed, do you have a recommendation for those to be keep or remove?
Well, on the Kenwood Cove, what's your thoughts? I mean, I don't swim there enough to know if we need it or not. I know the toilet bowl's not something I'll go down again. So.
Well, I mean, if we keep it on there, we don't have to decide what it is, just that something will be
You
done.
can also remove it and doesn't prevent us from seeking an opportunity. It's just amending the plan. So we still could move forward with a future where there is a feature, an attraction. My personal goal in the next 2 to 3 years is to finish the list. I'm not going to be able to finish all these items when we're not 3 years in. We don't have a plan in 3 years to put an attraction at Kenwood Cove. It doesn't prevent us from. What I would like to get to a point is we've resolved all these items as much as humanly possible, and then put ourselves in the position of 2025 or 26 is that we then pick up another master plan and identify it then. We have another master plan consultant come in and say, now the community's ready for this. Now and go through that needs assessment, go through the focus group process, interface with you advisory board members, and then could develop a new plan where we're not addressing deferred maintenance anymore. We're moving to the second phase, which was let's improve what we have. And that's what I think is a certain opportunity for some of these items to be addressed then.
Did you talk about the Discovery Center?
Sure.
Is there like a pool of money, pot of money for doing that?
There's not a pot of money for replacing the Discovery Center. Is that what you're?
Yeah, construct a new one is what it says.
Yeah. There is not a pot of money available to create a new nature center or education center for nature. We did have an evaluation done from our facilities maintenance superintendent, who has a very strong construction background. And one of the items you see on here is addressing foundation.
Yeah.
We don't seem to have a foundation issue currently at the Lakewood Discovery Center. It is an old house that we've converted to use as a nature center. The future of Lakewood Park is going to alter because of the river renewal plan and how the river gets used by the city, and that's 5 to 6 to 7 years out. So it certainly can be included in a future plan, but we don't have any current future plans, nor do we have a funding source to put in a new Lakewood Discovery Center.
So when you said that you had a $2 million, that's just a request for the aquatic destination, is that right? So there's not really a pot of money for that either, it's just a
No,
request to the
it's just
city?
it's just an estimate based on what we think.
Okay,
And also more than what we think. We did get a quote at one time from an aquatic consultant about who sells features, who sells different slides, who put together a conceptual drawing and put together some estimate of costs. And that's where we got that $2 million mark at. We haven't done that with Lakewood Discovery Center.
so do you think that should still be on the list, or do you think we should remove the Discovery Center for now and put it on some future master plan?
I think we should remove it,
I
and
agree.
that's my recommendation.
Let's
I
do
agree.
that.
And we're removing it from the plan, not from the option of ever doing something. And that goes the same thing with Kenwood Cove.
Right. Even if we remove this stuff, there's still an option in the future to revisit it. It's just
certainly.
taking it from the plan, so as you look forward and what to do, it's no longer on there and
Certainly.
not considered.
Correct.
Yeah.
I guess my motion would be to remove 75, remove 92. I mean, I think the soccer complex stuff needs to stay. It sounds like you wanted to remove 78 with the lighting. Or no, wait, it was Woodland, yeah, 81.
78's Parker Park, but
Yeah, I know.
Woodland pedestrian scale lighting, yes, I would remove.
that one?
I would suggest to remove that.
Okay. Anything else?
Parker Park, I would like to keep that.
Yep, okay. Right.
keep
I think the soccer thing is just gonna have to be figured out.
Yeah.
You know, we need to keep going. I don't think we have the answers. I think you guys do, but I'd keep it. Yeah, keep all those.
So we got 3 to remove and
3
the
to
rest to keep?
Yep. 4 to keep. Yep.
I'm sorry, Lakewood Discovery Center, what was that?
That was a remove. Woodland was removed, and Kenwood was removed. The rest of them were keep.
So if I may, Kenwood number, so if I'm going from top to bottom, bless you. Kenwood Cove, remove.
Yep.
Number 134, vehicle deterrence, keep.
Yeah.
Gates and guardrails,
Keep.
or fence on the north perimeter, keep.
Yep.
Proposed addition to regrade the fields, a better. That was a keep.
Yep.
Yes.
Parker Park was a keep. Discovery Center was a remove. And Woodland Park was a remove.
Yep.
Yep.
Does that sound correct? Okay.
And then everybody else, I think, the same. So.
Yep.
with-
You wanna just
So that's
amend
my
your
motion now.
Yeah. Is that your second?
You got that? Whatever it was before is not what it is now. So I'll make that motion.
Yeah, Danny's second is
I
amended.
seconded.
You're also making a motion to accept the other suggestions or recommendations
As they
from
are.
staff
Yep.
Yes.
for keep and remove. So there's already a motion and a second on the table, so
Yep.
So, all
We
in
have to
favor?
vote. Need to call for a vote.
All in favor?
In my concern, no, but
No,
that's
no,
okay.
all in favor.
I know.
Okay.
I thought that just in my concern, no, but that's fine. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Majority rules, so, okay. That was the old business.
I'm sorry, sir.
Was there some old business, or is
I
that?
don't have any old business.
Okay.
Unless the board does.
Project updates?
Bill Burke, we are done with Bill Burke as far as what the contractor was signed up to do. They finished up their last bit of fence this week. Friday morning, we are walking that facility with them and doing our final punch out, if you will. Then that project will go to bed. We do have more work to do at Bill Burke. Just to give you the information, we have 3 additional shade structures to put up. There's some ongoing work relating to irrigation that needs to be resolved. So it's we still have some inputs to do at Bill Burke Park.
Looks a lot better than last year.
I agree. And that's why, moisture is we need some moisture so that we can get grass growing.
Yep.
And it's going to be May before you know it.
Just to elaborate on that, the hydro seeding just got done, so it's just sitting there without water. It's not gonna, seed. So just do your rain dance for us, please.
My understanding is that we do have an irrigation repair going on this week, I believe, and that will help out irrigated areas. Some of the areas are not irrigated. Oakdale Skating Pond. It is, still have some, we're waiting for our water department to, and I don't think the water department haven't been over to Oakdale yet to remove those pipes. No. So we're waiting for them to remove those pipes that used to fill the former skating pond and the pool, or maybe just the pond. And that'll be done here soon. We're waiting for another department to finish that. And then it has already been seeded, I believe. And so that area around the fill pipe will need to be cut and capped off and backfilled and then compacted and then seeded. And we'll put that project to bed. As Travis reported about Pestinger Family Stadium, they're moving right along. It appears that they'll be playing games at the end of May for the state tournament. Lights are being scheduled. Lights will also be done at Dean Evans Stadium. On existing poles, they're putting LED lights on Dean Evans Stadium, which is a little more difficult to get to because it's in use right now. Scoreboards are in progress. They're putting a new scoreboard up at Pestinger Family Stadium. The Dean Evans scoreboard will also be renovated at a similar time frame to look similar, so they'll look like similar scoreboards. New graphics on Dean Evans. Tennis center bathrooms, I think I gave some brief reporting on that already, but we're getting the final touches on that done on the exterior. Got some dirt work to do and some seeding to do. And concrete improvements, they finished with Indian Rock. And last I saw, they were working at the tennis complex in Kenwood Park to do some sidewalks, and they still had some work to do over there, but that's coming together, and they should be done here, I'm sure, in the next few weeks.
I like what you did at Indian Rock and not have that as a drive-through anymore. People are complaining, but that's fine. Yeah, it's a parking area. It's not a drive. It's not a circular drive. So I think that's good.
So I haven't heard any complaints come to our office. They're complaining that they can't get out that way.
Yeah, they just complain they can't drive through it. It's like big deal. It's a parking place. It's not a drive-through. So.
Any questions about any of the projects that we have working on? Lots of smaller projects, of course. A lot of things preparing for season, whether it be Kenwood Cove or baseball or golf or whatever. So that's all I have to share for projects.
Is there any general announcements?
I do not. I do not.
Okay.
I move we be adjourned.
Did you want to ask something, Bruce?
Okay, next time.
No, go ahead, go ahead.
No, that's okay, that's fine. I'll just make my notes down and I'll bring it later.
Second.
Motion for adjournment,
Did it?
seconded it.
She did it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All in favor, we're meeting adjourned.
Okay.